The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Supreme Court Justice nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson not being able to answer a very simple question. What is a woman? How you define what a woman is? I don't know about that. I'm not a biologist. First of all, before we get to the video, which I do have, you saying it right there, you're not a biologist, that tells you that it's about biology, not just about how you feel and how you think and what you identify as. I'm not saying that, YouTube censors, but she's saying that. So if anybody is to be censored here, shouldn't it be her and not me? But that's a different story. I digress. The whole point is that she's saying she can't really identify what a woman is. Very simple question, not a gotcha question, but in today's day and age, I guess it is a gotcha question because you can identify as wherever you want. You could say that you are a giant space alien, you are the Empire State Building, and people got to accept it because if they don't, then they're considered racist, bigoted, transphobic, all the other obes in this. And before I go any further into it, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see Ketanji Brown Jackson talking to Marsha Blackburn, my senator out here in the great state of Tennessee. Shout out to all the volunteers. But after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide.
Well,
so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about. Just last week, an entire generation of young girls watched as our taxpayer-funded institutions permitted a biological man to compete and beat a biological woman in the NCAA swimming championships. What message do you think this sends to girls who aspire to compete and win in sports at the highest levels?
Senator, I'm not sure what message that sends. If you're asking me about the legal issues related to it, those are topics that are being hotly discussed, as you say, and could come to the court.
All right, so it's all that you heard that. Now, why was it so hard to really get through and still not get an answer? I don't really know. You got to talk to a biologist. As I said from the very beginning, this is a political thing, really. It's about if you say what a woman is and the obvious answer is an adult human female XX chromosomes. Very simple. It's not too much into it. If you are a male, you have XY chromosomes. Some are going to try to say, oh, what about Caster Semenya, the African sprinter or whatever? Well, this person has XY chromosomes. Regardless of how they identify, regardless of how they are identified, they still have XY chromosomes. So at the end of the day, they're still biologically a male. Now, however they identify or however they present, that's their business. That's a different story. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about biology, just like Ms. Ketanji Brown Jackson said, correct? But anyway, if you're going to be a Supreme Court justice, that's pretty important to have a grasp on what a woman is, right? Because as I said from some years ago, and definitely most recently, this whole thing about the trans men or women competing against biological women, that's got to be addressed on a legislative level. You got to put that into law. It can't just be like, okay, the NCAA is going to have their own guidelines. There's guidelines over there, guidelines over here. There's got to be some legal action taken on all this, okay? It can't just be up to the girls who are suffering as a result of XY men competing against XY women, it shouldn't be all on their shoulders to fight on their own. There needs to be some lawmakers stepping up to the plate. I think she even said something about this has really been discussed a lot, and it'll probably come to the court. Of course it's going to come to the court because they're going to battle it out in low court. It's going to be a bunch of lawsuits being flown around because if you are the girl that came in second behind quote unquote Leah Thomas, you might mess around and sue the NCAA. You may go all the way to the high court. It'll take years. Okay, that's where we're at nowadays with this whole situation. Okay, so that's pretty important to understand what a woman is. And while I'm here speaking about Ms. Ketanji Brown Jackson, there are a few more things that are pretty important to understand. Like, hey, if you have a child predator, maybe there shouldn't be any well actuallys when it comes to sentencing them. Okay, you may have seen that this person, Ms. Brown, Ketanji Brown Jackson, gave a child predator a light sentence. And there was an explanation for this, and I'll link to that in the box. It's a video. But basically, she was saying that he showed a bunch of certificates and degrees. And so, like, the things that he presented forward, the evidence he presented forward, made her believe that he's not part of this kind of culture regularly. So I guess it's okay, right? So maybe you don't present as a repeat offender. Maybe you've not been caught before, so you get a lighter sentence. I'm not really understanding. I don't understand the well actually on that. If you're a child predator, you're a child predator regardless of what. I say take you out back and just go ahead and be done with it right away. Save all the taxpayer money, expense, and hardship and effort, right? That's what I say. But if we're going to be legal, I don't think there should be any kind of lenient sentence for a child predator. That's just what I think. And shout out to my man, Gary Plotch. Remember that story? I won't get too deep into it, but basically, a man had kidnapped another man's, I think, 12-year-old son, brought him across state lines and was assaulting him. So when they brought the guy back, when they got him from a different state and brought him back, I think it might have been Louisiana or somewhere, to try him, the dad was in the airport waiting on him and then bang, hit him right there in the airport. And of course he went to trial for murder and he beat the case. The judge was like, I can't see any reason to send the father to jail. What good would that do? Beat that case in the 80s. Look it up. Gary Plotch. True story. Plauche. And I say all that to say this. I don't think there should be any kind of lenient sentence for child predators based upon things they present, their degrees and certificates. Who cares about that? At the end of the day, you got a victim. You got a child victim. So what's going on with that? Also, there's more about Ketanji Brown Jackson. She appears to be at least a proponent of critical race theory. Now, she was talking to Ted Cruz about this, and I don't like how she was speaking. You know, shout out to all the lawyers out there, all the good lawyers. Shout out to the lead attorney. Shout out to your channel boss. But I don't like when lawyers get to be speaking very lawyerly and they try to kind of confuse you with words. They play semantics and they answer questions in a very specific way. I don't like that because you know what we're trying to ask you. If the question is about critical race theory, like you gave a speech and you brought up critical race theory as part of what you got going on, and then you try to say, well, I know I'm on the board of Georgetown Day School in D.C., a private school. I know that I'm on the board of that school. I know that there's critical race theory books in the library. There's critical race theory being taught at the school, but critical race theory technically is about, it's a thing that's taught in law school and not when you're talking about kids in K through 12. Although there's books that are critical race theory in the library that's being taught to kids. Stuff from Ibram X. Kendi, aka Henry Rogers. That's his real name, Henry Rogers. Sound like an old paper towel cover model. But anyway, you're using really wormy language to get around it. Okay. And then she said that, well, I was talking about sentencing in that particular speech, the sentencing guidelines and the law. And I was talking about what I do. But Ted Cruz was like, well, you were in the sentencing. You were the VP of the Sentencing Commission, so let's not play games, okay? Let's not say you're talking about sentencing like it's a different thing that you're not really involved with. You are the VP of the Sentencing Commission, so you're directly involved with it. The same way you're on the board of Georgetown Day School in D.C. You're directly involved with critical race theory and all this ridiculous woke stuff. So maybe your viewpoint, your bias may be too much to confirm you on the Supreme Court. Just maybe. Okay. And for anybody that says that these questions were too harsh and they probe too much into her background, please. Nobody asked Ms. Brown Jackson what kind of beer she drinks, what she was doing on her 18th birthday in high school and things of that nature. We're talking about her views on very important political issues: Roe v. Wade, critical race theory, child predators, what is a woman? All these things are very important if you're going to confirm you to be the next Supreme Court justice. Okay. And as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the conservatives in the Senate for keeping this whole thing classy. They have not done what the left always do with anybody that is in front of them. Well, I'm not going to say all the time. With Amy Coney Barrett, they were a little bit more lenient, probably because she's a woman, but they are much more lenient with Ketanji Brown Jackson than the left were with Brett Kavanaugh, for sure. I mean, that was a whole big circus. You had protesters popping up, screaming and screeching and carrying on. You got House reps and senators acting the fool. It was Barnum and Bailey amateur hour at best. Amateur hour at best. But this one is much more composed. It's the actual adults in the room, unlike the Brandon administration, who are a bunch of kids running around with their heads cut off. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what's happening here with Ketanji Brown Jackson? Would she be a good Supreme Court justice? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This woke justice is going to be no good. Hopefully she doesn't get confirmed, but I'm not sure. I think it has to be the Senate that confirms her. I'm not sure how that works. Y'all please pardon me if I'm incorrect, but I think it's a Senate confirmation. And the way it is now, it's a 50-50 tie with Kamala being the tiebreaker. So the only hope would be you have a Joe Manchin or somebody come in and say, this ain't going to be what I want. Well, we'll see how the whole thing works. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.